What's up, everyone? My name is Justin Kruger, community developer on Rainbow Six Siege, and right now, we are about to break down all the details that you need to know for the upcoming year, our year 4. Are you guys ready to see the roadmap? Are you guys ready to learn about the balancing changes, the map reworks, and all of the content that we're introducing in year 4? Well, without further ado, let's take a look at the year 4 dev diary.
Ce qu'on espère tous, des joueurs jusqu'à nous en tout cas, c'est d'agir différemment, d'avoir un meilleur jeu, de pouvoir avoir un jeu en meilleure santé, meilleure qualité, bref, augmenter tous les paramètres du jeu. Et donc la grande transformation que l'on fait, c'est qu'on va fabriquer des équipes dédiées, des brigades qui vont prendre ces sujets majeurs et qui seront là 24 heures sur 24 pour corriger et répondre à ces sujets.
It's an absolute change of fundamentals in how the team operates. There are different cells, event cell, operator cells, a cell about player behavior and handling toxicity, and a playlist cell. The roadmap, the operations are going to cover still the 8 operators, your classic elements that you expect in a season, but more rework. We're putting a dedicated team that's all about the maps and balancing the maps. Work on the choke points, work on the layouts that needs fixing is going to be one of the missions.
Pour cette année 4, on va changer la formule. Une nouvelle map et 3 reworks. Améliorer des choses, redonner un cycle de vie aux maps, redonner une nouvelle dynamique.
Le jeu, il est important qu'il soit toujours en recherche de nouveautés. L'événement allie le parfait mélange entre la légèreté d'un événement et en même temps pour moi une phase d'exploration. Donc année 4, nous allons commencer à tabler sur des gameplays, des mécaniques, nous avons envie de tester, voir les réactions du public, etc. C'est un gage d'avenir aussi pour Siege.
We now have a full production team dedicated to doing that 100% of the time, shipping operator reworks and tweaking the game. We're going to be reworking Lion, Glaz, Ying, Dokebi, Capitao, and that's just the beginning. Many more are to come, we just can't announce them yet.
In the past months, we've set up a cell dedicated to player behavior. That cell will be looking 360 at toxicity, team kill, living, all of the negative and positive behavior. They're now going to be tackling the most important feature the game is going to be seeing, that is handling team kill. So I'm extremely happy to announce that in Season 1 we'll be seeing in the TTS the first prototype playable by all of the people in test server of the reverse friendly fire, which is a feature that's going to punish players that are trying to perform a team kill. This is going to be tremendously changing how you interact with the game and the rest of your players without disrupting the tension and the lethality of the game.
Un jeu multiplayer, c'est massivement des gens qui se déplacent à travers un jeu. Quel est le parcours que je choisis? Est-ce que je vais en casual, est-ce que je vais en ranked ou une autre playlist? Il était important pour nous d'avoir une unité, une brigade qui gère les flots de tous ces joueurs-là. Ces joueurs-là, ils sont différents. Ils sont débutants, ils ont 3 minutes de jeu, comme ils sont pros, ils ont des milliers d'heures de jeu au compteur. Toutes ces populations, on doit les adresser. On ne peut pas les adresser avec égalité. Donc nous avons bâti une cellule qui est dédiée à la régulation de tous ces flots.
The philosophy of the newcomer playlist is really to offer new players a controlled environment, a safer one, where they can focus on learning the core mechanics of Siege and have less amount of content to learn, so smaller amount of maps, just 3 maps, and only 1 game mode, the bomb game mode. Several things are going to change as well for the casual plays. The first one is the long-awaited reduction of the action phase timer, which is going from 4 minutes to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And there are 2 other aspects that are really important. Attackers are going to be able to choose their spawn point freely, like they already do in the ranked playlist. And defenders will be informed of which sides they're going to defend, which will allow them to select an operator that is adapted to the sides they're going to defend.
We have been dreaming about that moment when we can remove the beta tag in ranked. In the first half of the year, that beta tag will be removed. The playlist initiative and cell is hard at working on introducing pick and ban as the main game mode for ranked, starting season 2 of year 4. Finally, we're so glad that we can bring that awesome piece of gameplay, of tactic, of choice that pick and ban is in ranked. We have 4 major events that are going to be across the world, starting with Europe, and we're going to go in Italy in May. Next major this summer in August will be in North America, but I can't reveal the location. Finally, we'll go to Asia for the first time in November and back in Montreal for Six Invitational 2020.
2019, 4e année, beaucoup de transformations que l'on fait sur nous. Il y a une forme de continuité, 4e année, et en même temps de début assez fort. En fait, je vis cette année, ce 2019, avec énormément d'excitation. J'ai une fin incroyable de ces transformations que l'on fait et des résultats qui vont donner à notre jeu et à notre communauté.
Welcome back to the 6th Invitational. That is a look at year 4. A huge year coming up. Please keep that applause going for our incredible panelists who will be going into detail. I present you Brand Director Alex Remy, Realization Director, or whatever you are, Kit Grand, I'm sorry about that, and Presentation Director Alexander Karpazis. I'm surrounded by directors, that's why I kind of tripped up on that. But Alex, I want to turn to you first. There's a lot in that video. There's a lot in year 4. But let's take a quick look back at year 3, the year that was. It was a year of experimentation. It was the first time we ever had an event with Outbreak and the Madhouse event. And right now, we're having an event right now with the 6th Invitational event. First year, we had a rework. A lot of firsts for us. So what did year 3 mean for you and the dev team, and what learnings did we take from it?
You said it, Justin. It was year 3, a year where we experimented, tested things, the rework, the events, for instance, and the learning that we got from there. Like, this is clearly stuff that we want to grow stronger in year 4. Year 4 for us, it's a year where we are introducing many changes, as we mentioned in the video, about how we function as a dev team, how we operate, building the content, and even how we are organizing ourselves.
So not only evolving the game, but evolving how we work on the game.
Very much. I mean, there's been a realization up until year 3, and that team has been growing a lot, delivering a lot of content, that also there's a lot of dreams, wishes that we could not deliver until then. So restructuring the team, reorganizing ourselves and the way we do content allows us now to select key topics, the one that you saw in the video, like player behavior, like playlist and others, and have those dedicated teams actually deliver during that year on those specific areas.
Yeah, and we're going to be diving into all those topics, but let's talk about the big reveal that we just saw, the year 4 roadmap. A lot of changes, a lot of interesting things are going on in that map, so why don't you break us down what we're seeing in year 4?
Year 4, we're starting obviously with Burnt Horizons, which is our first season in Australia, and all of the details are going to be revealed in another panel. But we also have obviously our 3 classic seasons afterwards. So 3 seasons, each season follow the same sort of structure that we've had in the past, with 2 operators and a rework each time. Operators, as you can see in the roadmap, this time we're going to be meeting new characters from way more different nationalities, total 7 different nationalities, traveling from the US Secret Services in season 2 and Denmark, which, with a pretty exciting female operator that's going to be there. Then we're going to go to Mexico and Peru for the first time in South America after Brazil and Central America, and finishing season 4 with Kenya and India. And I'm pretty excited about that season as well, because it's going to be a very interesting one.
Super interesting. As we saw yesterday during the Universe panel, we're shifting more towards the characters, the backstories, where these people are and who they are, really, where they're from and who they are. So that's going to be really interesting as we move forward. Obviously, another thing, a big thing on that was the reworks. We're going to be touching on that in just a moment.
Yeah, a point about the rework is this is very important for us when now that we're reaching a certain level of content and maps available, that we are taking care of that content. The game is growing, the community is growing, obviously, and we have to cater to that content, make sure that it's even better than it is, and that this is really one of the objectives that we're setting this year of taking care of the operator with balancing as well as the map with the map reworks.
I think it's a really important thing as we move forward into year 4. We're constantly adding more content, but now we're taking a step back and taking a look at the content that we already have to make sure that it's fun to play on and easy to play on and great to play on. And another difficult aspect of Siege is learning, getting access to those operators. In year 4, we're going to cross 50 operators. So how are we making it easier for players to unlock those DLC operators?
We've mentioned it about 2 years ago. I believe it was the first SI that our dream is to deliver the game up to 100 operators. That's our wish, that's our journey, ambition, and this is what we're going to do. And indeed, we're now almost halfway through that dream, which means also tons of new content. Every new player, engaged player that is now in the game has a form of almost a wall to grind, if you will, with all of those operators. So we are introducing what we call the operator lifecycle, which is a way to make every of our post-launch operators much more accessible. As you can see, what we're doing is like every operator that is getting a year older is actually seeing a decrease in terms of pricing in credits and renown, meaning that every operator that is 12 to 24 months old is now $4 or 20,000 renown, and up until 30 months and older, where they're actually $2 and 10,000 renown.
Yeah, so 36 months and older, you'll get the cheapest operator, and that's starting season by season. So starting year 4, season 1, you'll start seeing those price decreases.
Absolutely, this is starting now, and a big push from us has been about the accessibility on the game. We've revealed the new SKUs about a week ago, where also we're making sure that the operators, which are the most critical parts of gameplay that you need to access and learn in the game, are getting more accessible. And it's also true with the operator lifecycle. For every engaged player, we're going to make the gameplay much more accessible.
The gameplay much more accessible, and going back to the roadmap, there's one other thing that I wanted to touch on here, the events. We're introducing more and more events this year. What's the thought process behind that?
But there's two main elements when we looked at events that we indeed introduced as sort of experiments last year. Is one, obviously, it does create a rendezvous or a moment for the community to actually play and rediscover in a fresh mode or fresh modality or the game. And at the same time, for us, this is a space where we can actually innovate and almost do some R&D, if you will, because the game is so tight. Like when you do play Rainbow Six, it follows very strict gameplay rules, certain level of complexity, and we need some spaces where we can actually experiment, develop new form of experience, and see where that leads. This is why next year we're gonna have an event per season that can come into the spectrum between something offset and a little bit funny like the Halloween one, or something much more serious like Road to SI.
Yeah, and these events allow us to experiment and make sure that the game is in a healthy place. And going back to year 3, one of the big things that we utilized to make sure the game was healthy was the test server. And so how are the test servers changing in year 4?
In year 4 and starting season 2, actually, we're going to be making the test servers from 2 weeks to 3 weeks before we introduce the live season. That extra week, thank you. Operation Health guy here. That extra week allows us to actually get more feedback, see how the content is actually reacting on the live environment with a massive amount of people, and react better in case of regression. So the objective is always the same. Make sure that when the content hit all of the platforms and all of the content platforms at the same time, it is healthier and better.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see the memes from that one, Alex. It's going to be good on Reddit. Now, let's go into the map reworks. Alexander Karpazis, let's bring you in here. Let's talk about these reworks, because that's the big thing on the roadmap. Let's talk about the first rework we saw in Hereford Base and how these reworks are different or similar to that one.
Right, so we're actually redefining what we consider a rework now after learning so much from Hereford. Hereford was a giant top to bottom change with the art, with the layout, and now we're looking at the maps in our roster. We're over 20 maps now, taking care of those and not changing the things that work, but changing the things that don't. And we're using data, we're using feedback from the community to make those changes.
All right, and as we saw, we got a little glimpse of these changes to come, but what maps are we changing and how are we changing them?
All right, so starting with Season 2, we have a rework of Café. Then Season 3, we have a rework of Canal. And then finally, Season 4, we have a rework of Theme Park.
Theme Park, all right, let's ooh, yes.
Yeah.
That one got a response.
Didn't think that, eh?
Yes, and here we are. Let's start off with Year 4, Season 2, Café. What are we changing in Café?
All right, so everybody got that little sneak peek, and we'll roll the video right now. We're expanding the second floor now so that you can approach objectives and have a little bit more space to play with. On the attacking side and the defending side, even Skylight is getting blocked a little so that it's a little bit safer to move around on that floor. Yeah, absolutely.
Our fans are really liking that one.
They love it. And then you can see another big change that we're making is moving the staircase on that bottom floor over. Perfect. And it just helps people move a lot. It was a lot of dead space. People weren't using that staircase, so moving in a place that makes sense really helps out the map.
Now, Alex, what about that pesky bomb site? The one we all know about.
Are you talking about the bakery one?
Yes, sir.
We've moved it.
Oh, boy.
It's not there. It helps defenders now. It's moved in to the kitchen. So you have 2 sites in the kitchen now that you defend. It helps out the defenders a lot because it was such an insecure spot. And we've introduced a new objective as well to the map.
Ooh, a lot of changes. So you'll be able to see that down the line. That's going to be really interesting. We haven't shown all the details about that rework to Café, but it's exciting.
It is.
Yeah, another really exciting rework is Canal. Let's take a look at that.
Yep, so this is a big one. Canal is very special because it's our map that we have 2 buildings and you get a lot of that firefight in between the 2. And it was always a blocker moving from one to the other. So we've added a new route up top and we've actually added a tunnel underneath as well. So you get a lot of changes coming to the red building, and you see a lot of choke points like these hallways that we're opening up. We're creating new opportunities for the attackers, for the defenders, just redefining the space a little bit more so it's not as claustrophobic.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is that it's a lot about navigation, a lot about those angles, a lot about those choke points, taking away all the things that are frustrating about these maps, but keeping the good things.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And now a map that's a little bit further down the line, so we don't have a lot to show for it, is Theme Park. But that, our players have a lot of opinions about Theme Park, don't they? Yeah.
It's a little ways away, but we do have a floor plan we want to show. Keeping things that worked, like on the first floor, Drug Lab was great, but then you get the maze that's happening to the side with gargoyles, so we want to kind of streamline that a little bit more and balance the lighting. Right now, Theme Park is a map that's super, super dark in some places, super bright in some places, so kind of averaging it out so that it's easier for players to recognize what's happening. Cool. And then on the second floor, we're actually taking a look at that connecting hallway where you have the train cars. It's very hard to flush out defenders. There's so many hiding spots. And we're also going to be taking a look at the twin staircase there too.
Yeah, this is really exciting because this is the first time we've ever shown a Year 4 season 4 map tease in a Year 4 panel, which is really cool to see. So you get a full look at all the stuff that we're working on, and I mean that's not even all the stuff. That's just the tip of the iceberg of what we're working on. And when we look at these maps, they're always going to be iterative upon. And I think one of the things that we normally look at when we look at balancing is operators. And that's what I like to bring in. Kit Grand, realization designer, not...
Yeah, that's right.
You may have seen him walking around as Vigil, or maybe you haven't seen him walking around as Vigil, if you're holding a camera. But Kit, tell us a little bit about what your balancing team has been doing. Last year, we introduced the balancing cell. What have you guys been doing over the past year?
So as of December, the balancing cell has grown substantially. We've got now members from the whole dev team, right from code, design, research, all the way through to audio and art. And it's going to be a great year for year 4 for balancing, because we're dedicated, and that whole team is entirely on that. It's going to be great.
Now, we saw in the video a little glimpse at some of the operators, and we can't talk about balancing without talking about the 800-pound lion in the room.
Okay, let's do it.
So let's talk about lion. What are we doing to improve lion in year 4?
Right, so with lion, the first thing we're doing is we're getting rid of the outline. That's out, that's going away. The next thing, okay, the next big thing is the time. He's being halved. It was 7 seconds, 3 seconds of countdown, and then 4 seconds of effective time. Now it's going to be 1.5 to 2, and then 2 seconds of actually scanning. These 2 changes, we're confident will take him to a place where he's still lion, but he's not an operator that's going to help you kill people. He's an operator who's going to assist in gaining intel, and that's pretty much it. He will tell you someone's above him.
Yeah, he's moving into a role that's more that he was designed to be, that intel operator, and less that really frustrating kind of operator where it just you get killed and you feel frustrated by it.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah. Really big change to Lion. Another little hint that we saw was at Glaz. What's happening with Glaz in year 4?
So Glaz, another unintended behavior happened with him. He became a very, very strong pusher on site. He became a bit too good in close quarters. So what we've done is we've linked his IR scope to his movement. Now that means that you can, if you want to, go slower, push, 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 and you can still gain that advantage of seeing through smoke and getting the yellow highlight. But it means that it's a lot more of a skill game. It's less of a everyone can do it pretty easily. The other thing that we did with this that is going to be very important is we've pushed him to be much more of a sniper role. He capitalizes on your mistakes. He holds an angle, and you can see this in this video. He's there waiting for you to make a mistake, and when you make a mistake, he capitalizes on it. He gets you, and you don't know where from.
So he's more of that classic sniper role instead of the entry fragger that
exactly. No more entry fragging Glaz.
No more entry fragging Glaz. I think our fans are going to really love that. So that's a really cool look at some of the design changes that are coming to Glaz and Lion coming in the first half of year 4. Now let's talk about a secondary gadget that doesn't usually get a lot of love. We haven't changed this since the launch of the season. The deployable shield. How is that changing in the future?
So, iconic and underused is the way we would describe this. So what we did with this one is we realized the problems with it, which is placement is frustrating, and you've got these tiny gaps between doors, you've got these tiny gaps that you can be seen through. And what we wanted to do is make it more comfortable to position and make it more like you can actually play the game. There's something happening behind the shield, but before you couldn't see it, you couldn't interact with it. And now you're going to have those small slits that you can...
Here we're getting our first look at the new design. Yeah.
There we go. So those small slits, they're bulletproof glass, they're mirrors, and basically that will allow Glaz to no longer do this. But also those windows will allow the person behind the shield to see what's happening in front of them and make a move, because before maybe you weren't sure what was there.
Yeah, and just to be clear, you can't shoot through those slits. Yeah.
No shooting.
So they're just there for visuals.
Yeah.
And gathering intel. This really becomes more of an intel gathering tool than anything. Yeah.
It's an intel gathering tool, and it's also going to have an impact, right? You see one of these, and as an attacker, you think, ooh, maybe I don't rush that. The other thing great about this is we've kept all the destruction mechanics the same, so it's going to be destroyed by grenades, ash charges, all these things, which means that it's still the shield you know and love, but it's got a little tweak to it.
It's a little bit better. Maybe you'll select those over impact grenades.
Maybe it's more of a choice.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit more of a choice, bringing that options to the players.
Yeah.
So those are some of the changes that are coming in year 4 down the line. Let's take a look at some of the changes that are going to be coming up immediately. These have been outlined in the designer notes, but let's show them off for the first time, starting with that Dokkaebi change and the mute interaction.
I'm excited for this one. So we kind of approached this together, which was quite fun. So now mute will get a small buff icon. It's actually hidden by my in picture, but you will see a blue icon appear when you're in range of the mute jammer, which will allow the defenders to better utilize that utility of mute. And then on that as well, mute jammers will now hang up the phone call when you walk into them. So you can see here, it's gone. It's a cleanse.
Yeah, so if we're talking about like video game terms, you have a debuff, and walking into a mute jammer cleanses you.
Exactly. It's going to mean that Mute has much more potential for placing his jammers in not just reinforced walls or drone holes. It's more flexible.
Yeah, another thing, we changed the timing of it as well.
Yeah, so this one's great. After 18 seconds, the time that we've worked with pro players in pro player feedback to fine-tune, the hang-up will happen automatically after 18 seconds. So you'll still get the advantage of Takaibi being able to pinpoint those roamers, but at the same time, it's not going to annoy you 2 minutes into the game.
Yeah, it's still enough to make her a viable option and be annoying, but then after 18 seconds, it
so if
goes to voicemail.
If you're in a firefight, you can ignore it and you won't need to deal with it.
Yeah, if you're running out of time in the map, as we've seen, you know, it might just run out.
Exactly.
Yeah, on its own. All right. So that is a look at two operators getting an interesting change in Year 4 Season 1.
Yep.
But there's another one that we hinted at.
Yeah.
Capital.
So this one's a big one for us. It's been worked on for a while, and it initially started as a bug fix because this is unintentional. So what we've done now is we've completely reworked the propagation system, and now you will get a much more reliable firebolt. It will propagate into the area it should do, but also on top of that, we've reduced the damage, so it's less of a frag grenade and it's much more of a area denial, and you can maybe push a defender off a position with it, rather than using it as a frag grenade.
Right, so it allows a little bit of map control to
exactly.
the attacking team.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff. And now let's take a look at another secondary gadget that's going to be getting a little bit of a change, the breach charge. We haven't changed the breach charge since launch. So what are we doing to this?
Yet again, an iconic and underused. So this one, we've reduced the animation time, so it's going to deploy much quicker, it's going to be much safer to use. And then, on top of that, we've tweaked the damage. So the damage fall-off before was very intense, close-up, and it was quite big. What we've done is on the attacker side, we've reduced that so that you'll be safer to use it, less killing yourself. And on the defender side,
Thank you, Kit.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, I've killed myself many times with breach charges.
Yeah,
it's going to be useful.
So what we did on the defender side is we made it a little bit bigger, but there's less damage overall, and it will have more of an impact as I'm opening a wall, I'm not killing someone.
Right. So a little bit of a quality of life things.
Nothing huge,
for
but
that
something
gadget.
nice.
Yeah, and you know, one of the things that our community has been talking about over the past for a few months has been lean spam.
Right.
So what are we doing to introduce a first fix to lean spam?
So this first iteration, what we've done is we can see the videos. We've taken a first pass at it, lots of maths. This is the current one, and this isn't what we want. So instead, this is what we have now. No? Okay. There we go. So no more flapping heads. No more flapping heads.
Obviously, I want to reiterate that this is a first fix.
First iteration.
First iteration of
We're
a fix.
working on other things along the lines of crouch spam and lean spam as well. Let's see what happens with it.
Yeah.
This is a good start.
So you will be able to see all these, or all those changes in the Year 4 Season 1 test server starting tomorrow. We've already gotten good feedback on the lean spam, but we want more feedback from you guys, so let us know what your thoughts are once this hits the test server tomorrow.
Yep.
And of course, that's only the tip of the iceberg of balancing changes. We also have Ash losing her ACOG and and a few other changes that you might see down the line, but you'll see them all in the test server.
More to come.
You'll see them all in the patch notes tomorrow. Now, Alex, let's talk about how we're making this game easier for newcomers to enter the game. We saw the newcomer playlist in the video. Tell us a little bit about more how this works and what are the rules behind it.
Sure. So Newcomer Playlist is us trying to make it easier for players to get into Siege. It's a very, very complicated game, and so first contact is very important. So we're creating a playlist dedicated to players with level 1 to 50 clearance, and this is their space to play with other people of the same skill level, of the same knowledge. At the same time, we're making it so that the rules match a lot more what they'll see in ranked. So it's bomb only, and you only have 3 maps And these maps you'll also see in ranked as well. And this helps prepare players to make that jump from the newcomer to the ranked playlist.
So a lot of tools to onboard new players as soon as you pick up the game. It's a little intimidating. You have those situations. But this will make it a little bit easier for them to navigate. Another thing we're changing with the preparation phase are the spawn points in bombs.
That's right. So when you're jumping in as an attacker, you vote as a group where you want to spawn, and you'll spawn together so that you can approach the objective together. And when you're a defender, you'll be shown what bomb site you'll be gaining so that you could pick an operator that fits it.
Yeah. Now, how do these changes impact casual? We saw in the video that there's a little hint at what's happening with casual, but what's happening?
Yeah, so it's important to note that newcomers can still play casual if they want, if they have those friends that are higher level than 50, so they can jump in there. For casual, we're reducing the action time to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Yes, yes. And we're also changing the way that you spawn in, so you can select where you want to spawn as an attacker. And again, we're showing what spawn point you'll be as a defender.
So bringing it a little bit closer to what we see in ranked.
That's right.
And speaking of ranked, there's a lot of changes happening with ranked. What's happening with ranked, Alex? Tell us.
So,
what about that pesky beta tag?
Year 4, 2019, no more beta tag. Woo. Let's go. And it all starts with pick and ban. We heard that a lot of people liked it in the road to SI. Yep. Yes. So we'll be changing it and bringing it into the ranked playlist now.
Yeah, obviously such a requested feature in ranked. We see it all weekend long at the Six Invitational and in the Pro League, and now we're finally bringing it to ranked. And more information will be presented when it comes out officially, but this is pretty exciting.
It is.
Yeah, absolutely. And also introduced in ranked, we have the new ranked hub.
Yes.
Tell us about what that is and what players can expect from that.
So this is actually your home for ranked now. We're providing a space where you can get more information. You'll know what rewards you'll actually win at the start of the season. You also know what maps are being rotated in and out of the map pool. If you go over to the My Rank tab, you actually find out a lot more about how you're performing, what you need to make that jump to platinum, which I think we're all.
Yeah, we're all. I'm diamond actually.
Okay,
I don't know about you.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
And it'll also give you a bit of a history as well on your previous season, so you can kind of measure how you're doing. As well, if you move on to the skill tab, you can see kind of the entire population of Rainbow Six ranked and where you kind of fall in between that. And we also have the Maps tab, where you can see all the maps in rotation, which ones are being added and which ones are being removed for that season.
Yeah, so this is going to be a really useful tool in the game client itself. All this information was only ever posted on social media or on the website, so now you can load up your game and see exactly all the information that you need to know.
That's right. It's our big jump, making sure that it's a little bit more transparent what's happening with ranked.
Yeah, now also earlier we mentioned that we're going to be crossing the 50 operator threshold in year 4, which is really exciting, Alex. But what does that mean to the menu system for the operators?
It means we're running out of room in our operator album. So we have to make more room, and this is the new operator album that we'll be releasing second half of year 4. And it starts with the landing page. When you hit the operator tab, you'll get a split between attackers and defenders. We'll also highlight a stat and operator that you've been playing. And then when you jump into something like the Defenders tab, you'll actually see the entire album of defenders that you have. We've made it a lot easier so that you can unlock them now. The flow is a lot less painful. And this is kind of like your go-to place now to customize your loadout.
I see you play Ella and Zofia mains.
Yes, my favorite.
Your favorite. All right, so that's a look at some really cool stuff. Player comfort, quality of life changes coming to the game. And now one thing mentioned and showed in that video was the reversed friendly fire. And I mean, we've been doing a lot of things to address toxicity in the game. We've introduced chat filtering, and a lot of these things that we're working on in terms of player behavior. But we haven't really addressed team killing in a meaningful way. So tell us and break down what's happening with reverse friendly fire.
Right. So we've been working on this for a while now. If you check out the video, what happens when you kill a friend is you'll actually be sanctioned. So you'll get a warning for dealing damage to a friendly teammate, and then once you get sanctioned, any damage you do will be reversed onto you.
Yeah, and there you can see clearly there's an indicator that, you know, this is, you're now in the reverse friendly fire danger zone, and,
yes.
And then your next kill will kill yourself.
That'll last for the entirety of the match, and it was important to make sure that the lethality of friendly fire was still there, but we're making sure that it doesn't affect other people's games.
Right, and I think it's important to note that this is still just one iteration. It's going to hit the test server. We want your feedback. We want to test this over and over again to make sure we're getting it right.
Right. We'll release it on the test servers first, get feedback. We're even playing with more down the line in terms of a forgive system as well.
Yeah. Alex, in terms of player behavior moving forward, we saw the player behavior cell. You know, what is the priorities of this cell, and why are we putting importance on toxicity and player behavior?
With the game hitting now 45 million unique players, toxicity obviously and some of the negative behaviors are becoming a more important topic that all of us as players are actually experimenting and experiencing. So clearly that cell, starting with reverse friendly fire, is going to be handling that cancer that toxicity is, and I do believe that's our intention, that reverse friendly fire will have similar impact as when we introduced Battle Ice 2 years ago. It's really like taking down toxicity as much as possible, and at the same time rewarding positive behaviors in the game with other features that we can't say more for the moment.
We have a lot being worked on, and you know, we're taking this subject very seriously. We see your tweets, we see your messages online, and I just like to say to our community that, you know, you can be better people to your fellow players. It is never okay to discriminate against someone because of their race, their gender, or their sexual identity, and that has no place in Siege. All right, let's move on to the evolution of esports moving forward. Alex, we introduced this new esports system and program last year, and it's been working pretty well for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Year 3 has been a year of quite drastic changes when it comes to esport. Two main ones, restructuring the league from 3 months to 6 months, where now every team gets to play against each other every week, and at the same time changing match format with the introduction of pick and ban, and soon everyone will get a chance to play. Those two changes have been obviously sort of disruptive. At the same time, they are positive but disruptive. So year 4 is going to be a year where for esports we're going to be consolidating on those great additions. So year 4 roadmap is a roadmap that will look similar to what you guys have seen and witnessed for the past year. So that's 2 main seasons of 6 months, as well as 4 main events. 2 Pro League finals, the next one in May being in Italy, Milan. And we're going to go in August for the first time. The major is going to North America, so we're pretty pleased about it. USA, here we come. Finally, and I'm sure everyone in this room and watching us will be happy to know that the Pro League finals in November will be in Asia, considering how the scene has been growing and competing at that level all through the past months. It's incredible to bring Rainbow Six there for the first time. And finally, 2020, we're back in Montreal for Six Invitational.
We hope to see everybody here next year at the Six Invitational, but of course, APAC had a really strong showing. It was really great to see. And our first event after this is going to be Milan. But before we get to that, I just wanted to show, we saw a few new additions to the minors. So what's happening? What are we adding to the minor leagues there?
Yep, minor are those small standalone tournaments that we've added last year, and we want to keep them. And the great news is now we're starting to see partners, tournament organizers that are taking them and pushing them in different territories and locations. So seeing how other partners and other collaborators are taking and exposing the game elsewhere is a pretty good, healthy sign of how the game is growing overall.
So an evolution of our esports scene from
Absolutely.
the bottom up. Anybody that wants to compete can compete at any level. Really great. So without further ado, let's take a quick look at the Milan trailer from our Ubisoft Italian people, and let's check that out. I love that trailer so much. It's so beautiful. Yes. So we hope to see you in May. But before we move on, Alex, there is one last update that we have, and that is regarding the prize pool for this event.
Indeed, Justin, I'm particularly glad to announce now that we have passed the $2.5 million of the prize pool. As you guys know, and that's why you see $2 million on the screen, is we have put a cap on that prize pool so that the 6 invitational official prize pool is $2 million, the largest prize pool ever for Rainbow Six. And every dollar above 2 million, so those 500 and more, because the event is still on, are going to be redistributed to the prize pool money of the whole year, all of the different programs that we want to push, like Challenger League, for example, and others, where we want to put some more love and investment. That's how we're going to be using that extra prize pool. Thank you
really
very much.
Investing in the long term of Rainbow Six Esports, investing in the long term of Rainbow Six the game. And that is your look at year 4. It's going to be an amazing year with everything that we've covered. The operator balancing, the map reworks, the TTS revamp, the events, all these things coming together to make an amazing year 4. And of course, we have the ranked playlist changes, the newcomer playlist, the operator albums, and the player behavior improvements. It's going to be an amazing year 4 for you guys, and I cannot wait to see you all in year 4. It's going to be a special one. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Without further ado, let's kick it off to the All-Star game coming up right after this.
Thank you to everybody from Ubisoft.